All right, welcome to episode 1 of So What Do You Do? So, I created this podcast as a way to give out free and public information to college students, professionals looking to make a career shift, and upper management wanting to learn more about early career professionals and their experience in the industry so far. Today, we have our first guest and my good friend, Tyler Freund. How you doing, Tyler?
I'm great. How are you, Kieran?
I am doing great. We're so excited, and I'm really grateful that you're our first guest. And thank you so much for your time today. I know you got a busy schedule.
Yeah, I'm honored. Thank you. Yeah.
So we have our first question, which is the title of the show, which is, so what do you do?
Yeah, so I work as a data scientist, which mostly involves a lot of, there's just so many different things, but a lot of coding, a lot of statistics, and basically just bringing value to data is essentially what I do.
Very cool. What
Yeah.
drew you to this field?
Yeah, so originally first I was studying radiology. So I was going to do like the medical route. And then I shifted from that to economics and was kind of headed more down the financial kind of path. And then eventually I discovered a couple classes in data science and computer science, and I found them super interesting and fun. And so it was just through school, taking classes, and found some that I thought were super cool, and I followed through with it, and I've done it about a year now and couldn't be happier. So,
Wow. So you originally were
yeah.
going to study radiology?
Yeah, so I wasn't going to become a doctor, not a radiologist, but I was going to become a radiology technologist. And so I did all the prereqs for it. I got on the wait list, and I was fully committed to that. And then, yeah, things changed, but that was my original plan.
I never knew that. Wow, that's really interesting.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I'm actually happy you brought up your background and sort of what you were learning and then how you ended up making that shift. Because I do want to ask the question, what was your like official background in education? Like, what was your major, and where did you go to school? How did you feel about your education in relationship to how it kind of prepared you for your job now?
Right, yeah. So like I said, I did all the medical stuff, so took a bunch of sciencey classes, anatomy, physiology, all those kind of prereqs. And then I got on this wait list and I just kept on taking at a community college, Santa Barbara City College. I just kept taking kind of random general ed classes, and decided, you know what, I'll throw in applications and see if I can get into a UC somewhere. The wait list was like 3 years, so I was like, I have time to do something else. Um, and yeah, ended up getting into Berkeley, and as you know, a fellow bear here, Kieran. So, uh, yeah, I got into Berkeley and started to study econ there, and I did enjoy that. But then I just started exploring like what else can I do, and yeah, I found a couple data science classes, checked them out, and I absolutely loved it. So originally I was just going to do a minor in data science with the major in the econ, but I realized it was like three more classes and could do the double major. So I just went for it, grinded pretty hard for like 2 years, and then finished up with, yeah, econ and data science. But really, the econ, I'm glad I did it. I still think it's super interesting. But in terms of like what I do now, I don't think any of that really helped. I think all of the, kind of a combination of computer science and statistic classes for the most part are like what actually I use from day to day. So yeah.
Is there a specific computer science class that you feel like really helps you at your job now?
I think just taking a couple introductory classes. I think like a standard one is like data structures. Um, you don't need to be, like a software engineer. You need to be super good at coding. That's like your big thing. Data science, we're kind of using coding, but like under that, it's more of like statistics and math that we're using, and then we're just like kind of like using coding as a tool to like do those things. So I think it's not important to go super deep down the computer science rabbit hole and become a master of that. Um, but just yeah, having that like basic foundation will help with doing data science jobs, I think.
So yeah, when you say basic foundation, are there what are some specific like languages you know for coding?
Yeah, I for me, I know Python, Java, SQL, but I think the two big ones I think for data science stuff would be Python and SQL. I think are the two biggest. And now at my job, I do a lot of Mongo, which is similar to SQL, but it's just another querying language for pulling data from a database. So yeah, but I think the two most important ones would be Python and SQL. I think those are the two big ones.
And what sort of data do you work with when you're using Python and SQL at your job specifically?
Yeah, so pretty much all of the clients that are at the job I work at are banks, and so they'll give us kind of like travel expenditures or um, just like different business expenses that they have, and they're spending millions and millions of dollars, and so like for us, we can help them, uh, I guess, show them like, okay, here's the segments that are spending a lot, here's the segments that are not spending as much, and just really like summarize those numbers for them so that like the higher up people kind of have an idea of what they're spending, and then also possible ways they could save money, uh, you know, potential risks, forecasting, future spending, different things like that. So it's really, yeah, a lot of uh, banks' data, and we're helping them, I guess, manage their money or their spending a little bit better.
Wow, yeah, it sounds like a big responsibility, especially working with the clients that you do specifically. Is there something about the role that you really love?
Yeah, I think for me, I love. I work with great people, first of all, which is awesome. I think not everyone can say that. I genuinely do love the people I work around, which is awesome. Um, and yeah, I think there's sometimes I get tasks that, like creating like a report or something that I don't like as much. But for me, when I love the coding stuff, I can just like go kind of like put on some music and kind of get in the zone. And it's like, I don't know, it's kind of, I think it's hit or miss. You could either love it or you could hate it. And it's not for everyone, but for me, I can just geek out on it and like kind of look at it as kind of a little puzzle I have to solve, and I have fun with it. So yeah, but yeah, I think that would be my favorite part. Would be like when I get those coding problems that I have to figure out, and then I would say on the other side, one of my less favorite activities would be like doing reports and stuff like that.
Yeah,
But
it sounds
yeah,
like there's like some level of like subjectivity to the assignments you get. Like you get to decide how you want to approach them and sort of what the analytics is going to show the business.
right. I think if you were at a bigger company,
Mm.
I think you would maybe have less freedom in terms of like how you do things and what you do, and you may be boxed in a little bit in terms of like what they're looking for. But for my job, it's, I would say, almost too flexible and like no direction. Oftentimes they'll just be like, figure it out, see what you can find. For a long time, like a couple months, things were kind of slow, and I basically had just the task of like just research and like see what you find and see what you think is important in the data. And so obviously that's just like a very open and vague kind of direction. So you could go so many different ways with that. Um, but yeah, it is fun to have that flexibility, but it can also be challenging because sometimes it's nice to have someone tell you like, here's your assignment, do it this way, get it done this day, and it's like kind of simple. But yeah,
Wow, that's really interesting. How big is your company?
right now it's I want to say like around 40 people or so.
Got it.
It's been, I guess you would consider it a startup. It's been around for like 10 years, but it's still very small. It's growing. Um, And yeah, I do enjoy that because I kind of know everyone. I talk to the CEO. I know everyone in the company. Whereas, if you're at a bigger place, you probably wouldn't have that close connection with everybody. Probably with your own like smaller team that you have, but it's kind of cool to kind of like just know everybody and everything that's going on. So
Yeah, that's
yeah,
really nice. I've personally only worked at big companies. I haven't had that startup or even early company experience yet, but it sounds like the pros of it are a lot of what you're saying right now. Is there sort of something that I know you're kind of new to the industry. How long have you actually been in the industry for?
yeah, super new. It's only been a year, so
Wow.
yeah, before this, just did like service jobs, Trader Joe's, restaurants, and I will say that's one thing uh, I do miss is a little of that like social connection where you're like talking to people every day, you're meeting new people, you're around coworkers all the time. Whereas this is a little bit more isolated, and it's a lot of you just kind of thinking and figuring things out on your own. And so I think it's okay as long as for me, I've been totally fine with that as long as you do prioritize like socializing outside of your job, because you're not going to get that in your job as much. um, but yeah, I've only done it a year, but so far I've loved it, and I plan to keep going with it for a while.
Yeah, that you sort of answered my next question there because I was going to say
Yeah.
if there's anything about the industry that you would change, what would it be? Is it kind of like that isolating factor, or is there something else you might change as well?
Yeah, I think that would probably be the main thing I would change. Just yeah, like a little more social interaction, and I think that is hard. Everything's remote, so that's just the way it is. But yeah, I guess yeah, that would be the thing I would change.
Absolutely. What
Yeah,
do you feel like, and if you don't know the answer to this, that's totally
yeah.
fine, but what do you feel like the future employment of this field looks like? Does it seem something that has a lot of potential, or is it something that you think about?
That's something I think about a lot. I am definitely. I do believe it will be around for a while, and I think it's going to keep growing in the coming years. But it's something definitely that concerns me because there's these crazy tools. You got ChatGPT doing the most insane stuff. Like it can do so much. So that kind of thing does make me think like it is feasible within 10 years, 5 years, 10 years, I don't know, uh, that those kind of those kind of things can get so good that maybe they won't need us anymore. But I do believe that even if it can do a lot of our jobs, I think they still will need people to kind of like structure it, put it together. I think you still need a person to kind of like overall figure things out. But also, I've done this a year. I'm not an expert by any means, so it's hard for me to say. But I do believe it will be around for a while.
Yeah, I know nothing about ChatGPT, but what I am assuming is sort of like when we talk about the subjectivity of data analytics and how you can approach a question or a problem totally different than the next analyst. It seems like even with something that's some type of AI powered tool, you would still need to guide the subjectivity. You'd still need to pose the questions, but I don't know
Yeah.
anything about it, so it could be the next the next thing that's taken our jobs.
Right.
So, given the time and the money and the energy that you put into learning data analytics at Berkeley, do you feel like? And I know you've only been in it for a year now, but so far, has it felt like it's been worth it?
Yeah, I would say so. I have a great work-life balance, um, tons of flexibility. I can work from anywhere I want, um, whenever I want. I have no schedule at all. I have like a couple meetings a week, but aside from that, it's totally up to you if you want to work later, if you want to work earlier, if you want to take a day off and just do an extra day, or get your work done another day. That's totally fine too. So I love the freedom of it. And yeah, I don't think like it is possible for you to just learn all these things on your own on YouTube, um, and just do it, the self-teaching route. I think that is totally possible, but I don't think there's very many people that have the discipline. I know I definitely don't, to sit down and be like, okay, I'm gonna actually study this one thing like for each week for the next 3 months. I'm gonna sit down and really learn this subject. I think that's super hard for like anyone to just be that disciplined and follow through with something and stay engaged. So I think it was worth it for me to invest all that time and energy into going to school to learn it. Um, and yeah, I'm glad I did. I'm super happy with it. So yeah.
Good. With that being said, if somebody were to try to do what you're doing now, knowing what you know now, a year into the industry, is there some advice that you would give them?
Sorry, one more time that question.
Yeah. So given what you know now, now you know
Yeah.
it was worth it.
Right.
But you also know the challenges that you faced getting to where you are now. So if there was somebody who wanted to do exactly what you're doing, they wanted to be a data analyst, maybe they wanted to take a similar route. What sort of advice would you give them before they started?
Yeah, I would say my biggest advice, actually one of my cousins is in this boat right now. He's kind of still super young, figuring out what he wants to do, and I've been there like, hey, this is a super cool thing. I love it personally, and I'd be stoked if you want to do it as well, and I'm happy to help you get into it. But also make sure that you like it and make sure that you're doing it for the right reasons. So yeah, I think the best thing to do is, just try some beginner things. Do your research first. Make sure you understand what you're getting yourself into, and play around with, watch some YouTube videos, play around with some of the software, and just do some simple beginner assignments. See if it's something that you're into, and just be true to yourself. And if you don't like it, don't do it. There's so many different things you can do. But yeah, I think that would be my advice. Is just like before you dive in, like you do a boot camp, or you change your major to it, or whatever the big decision is. Before you do that, take you know take a little 1 month course, or watch a bunch of YouTube, do a little practice. Don't dive in head first. Like check it out, make sure you really do like it, because it's not gonna be a quick 1 month and then you're ready to go. It's probably gonna be at least a year of practice and learning before you're ready to kind of jump into a role. So
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's true. That's pretty. The advice you give is pretty much true for any industry too.
right, yeah.
As far as data analytics specifically, I know that there's free courses on like Google. There's like Google. Maybe they're not free. I'm not sure. Do you know if they're free? Those Google data analytics courses?
There's like a million out there. I think some
Yeah.
are free, some are super cheap, and
Yeah.
then on the other end, you can also get some that are, very expensive. So yeah, I think there's a wide range of kind of like different courses and what they offer too. There's so many like uh, that's I think another important point to touch on is like there's so many different kind of niches within data science. So if you wanted to be an analyst, there would be certain tools that would be really important. If you wanted to be a machine learning engineer, you need a totally different tool set. So I think also like having a very concrete idea of what you want to go for is going to help determine what you need to learn, because it will be different for each. Data science is broad, so there's so many different niches within that. So deciding what you want to do specifically, and then figuring out, okay, what tools do I need to make that happen, I think.
Yeah, actually, to touch on that point, correct me if I'm wrong, but the hierarchy, maybe there's not sort of like this promotional hierarchy, but the way
Yeah.
that I've always understood it was sort of like data analyst, and then you become a data scientist, and then you can start working on machine learning. Does that seem like the natural progression, or is that kind of just like, is it all separate? You do one thing doesn't necessarily mean you're doing the other?
Very similar. I think what I've heard is that it's kind of like the data analyst would be, just analyzing the data. Then you have a data engineer who's kind of organizing it, cleaning it, making sure it's ready to be used, kind of management of the data itself. And then machine learning engineer would be the one making the models, creating algorithms, the person who's making your TikTok organized and giving you the videos you want. So then on top of that, you have a data scientist, and what I've heard is that the data scientist does all those things. However, for me personally, my title is data scientist, but I would definitely say I don't do much of the machine learning and algorithm stuff. It's something I'd love to do, but and I did learn a little bit in school, but at my job, I haven't had to do that yet. It's a lot more of like the management of the data and then analyzing it and bringing, figuring out important things from the data. So, yeah, that's been my experience so far, and I think that is the general hierarchy. But I'm not entirely positive on that.
So this is my last question, and I think it
Yeah,
feeds into what we just talked about perfectly. So
yeah,
we started out with, so what do you do? And I want to end it with, so what will you do next? What's the next vision you have for yourself and your role?
yeah. Well, this I actually made a big decision yesterday. I'm gonna be going to Columbia in the fall doing my master's. So, gonna be doing more school. And then
Wow.
on top of that, still going to be working at the same time. So it's gonna be a busy year, but yeah, that's gonna be the short term. What I'll be doing is a little more schooling. And then ideally, I would love to just keep doing what I'm doing and kind of move up. Eventually, I'd love to be in like a management role, managing other data scientists or data engineers. Um, but yeah, I think short term, it's a little bit more education. I should be able to knock it out in about a year, which is awesome. And then, yeah, ideally find some kind of, or keep moving up and eventually be a leader and a manager. I think that would be my goal.
Wow. So did you already get
Yeah.
into this program yesterday?
I got in like a month ago, and I actually had the deadline a couple weeks back, and I thought my job was going to cover it, but they ended up saying they weren't going to cover it, and so then I
Mm.
was like, ooh, I don't know if I should do this. It's really expensive. I already have pretty good skills, um, and so I was really on the fence. I ultimately said no. I declined the offer, and then like started thinking about it. And I was like, oh, this is such a cool opportunity. I could live in New York for a year and just meet a lot of cool people and just get better at what I do. And I started thinking of all the awesome opportunities it could open up. So I reached out and was like, hey, can I actually get an extension and like change my mind? And they responded and said I could. So yeah, I just yesterday submitted my like deposit to actually do it. So that could be a whole podcast in its own,
Yeah.
about like deciding whether or not to go to grad school, because that's been like this whole past month has been just a huge thing on my mind, and like me weighing the costs and the benefits and whether it's worth it. So yeah, but I'm excited. I think I made the right choice, and I think it'll be fun and a good time. So
Dude, congratulations, man. This is like
thanks,
news.
dude.
I know we're
Yeah,
doing this episode right now, but this
yeah.
is news to me. So I'm super happy for you. What is the master's in?
Yeah, so it's just data science.
Oh, cool.
So yeah, more data science. I think uh, a lot of it will be things I have learned, but I think maybe going more deeply into it.
Mm-hmm.
and kind of maybe pushing it a little bit farther. So, uh, yeah, I think it'll be a great opportunity. If nothing else, a fun year to live somewhere new and meet new people. Um, but yeah,
So it's a 1 year program.
I think they recommend a year and a half,
Got it.
and then they recommend during the summer you just do an internship, and then you finish off like the following fall. But what my plan is, I'm already working, and I plan to keep working. So my plan is to just do the 2 semesters and then finish off in the summer if I need to. And I might just try to do it even without the summer. Um, but I don't know. That also might be crazy. I don't want to overload myself for 9 months. So we'll see.
Do you know how you're gonna go surfing when you're in New York?
Oh, that was another very important thing I had to figure out. So yeah, there's a beach called Rockaway, I guess. That's
Ooh.
it's not as consistent as California, but there are waves there sometimes. It's gonna be really cold. I'm gonna have to get some booties. I already got my hooded wetsuit, uh, but yeah, I'm gonna need to maybe get an even thicker one for there. So.
Right. I'll have to come out and
Yeah,
visit you. Hey, Tyler, thank you
absolutely.
so
Yeah.
much for your time, man. Congratulations on the master's program. Congratulations on
Thanks. Yeah.
all your success and getting into a new industry. I'm really happy for you. I really appreciate your time. And I hope that, any young data analyst or aspiring data analyst or somebody aspiring to maybe make a career change could reach out to you on LinkedIn and maybe ask some questions here and there, or maybe even just comment below on our video today. And I'll be in there. I'm sure you'll be in there, and we can answer any questions anybody might have.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thanks for having me. And yeah, like you said, I am always open to just talk or give advice if I can. I mean, I'm also a bit beginner myself. I need advice too. So, yeah, I'm totally open. Feel free to reach out to me. And yeah, thanks again